This episode of iFanboy is sponsored by GoDaddy.com. You need a website, you need domain names, you need, they can build your own website for you. If you go to GoDaddy, use coupon code iFanboy, you get 10% off all of your purchases. GoDaddy. Grab your own piece of the internet with GoDaddy.com. Hey, Ron.
He's over here. Don't forget Netflix. Wait.
You okay?
Netflix.com. www.netflix.com/iFanboy. Get $4.99 a month DVD rentals.
2 weeks free, right?
2 weeks free. No late fees.
Does it hurt when you run?
It hurts when I run.
This week on iFanboy, we've got more mail!
And cookies!
Ooh, cookies. Ow.
Hey, welcome to iFanboy, the video podcast from the comic book discussion site, iFanboy.com. I'm here with Ron.
Hello.
I'm Josh. I should have introduced myself. And finally, we're coming over to Big Connor.
Big Connor.
Hey, we get lots of mail.
Big
Tons
C.
of mail. Big C with the mail. And,
Don't call me that.
so we're going to do a letter. We're going to answer a little viewer
We got
mail.
email.
And we got cookies.
I want the cookie.
So you guys eat while I read the mail.
Okay.
Cool.
Peter J. from Los Angeles wrote in. He said, I recently read Watchmen and Mouse for a college class. Between the two of them, I'm hooked on comics big time. The problem is my huge noobishness.
Is noobishness a word?
It's not a word, but it's awesome.
Euphemism?
He asks, where's a good place to start? I'm especially having trouble diving in since Boy gets magical powers and uses them to fight crime, get girl, wear spandex. Doesn't really do it for me. I love the Batman character and I thought Watchmen was brilliant, but mutant X genes and radiation giving you superpowers to fight crime seems a little silly to me. I hope someday I'll be able to get over my superhero
As opposed to
snobbishness.
Dr. Manhattan?
But at the moment it's a hurdle. I just need to get my feet wet. Any suggestions? So,
Sounds like he's somewhat predisposed to Marvel.
no, to hate Marvel.
I know, yeah. He
Against
said,
Marvel.
Yeah, against Marvel. That's what I meant.
That's not predisposed. That's
Well, whatever. The opposite of predisposed.
He's predisposed to not like
Yeah,
Marvel.
there you go.
He's prejudiced against
Yes, that's that. Bingo.
He has a problem with superhero comics for some reason.
What?
because they're silly.
They kind of are.
They're silly.
They totally
Yeah.
are, but
If
really,
you can't embrace the silliness, then you're never going to get into them.
Suspension of disbelief.
Watchmen, though, I mean,
It's
while for all its things is completely supposedly real, but Dr. Manhattan's he was like a victim of a radiation experiment gone wrong, and he reformed into himself, and
blue.
now he's blue and naked.
Yeah.
You can see his little naked blue balls.
So what can we then? We can.
Could.
I know.
What can we tell
That was
Peter?
his huge news.
So there's this great whole world of non-superhero comics in the world of comics, and we actually
There's a lot to read. There's a lot.
and
to
we
read.
actually read a lot of them. Believe it or not, we're not all about the superheroes.
Nope. One.
Despite our name and our and the audio podcast,
Our logo and
95% of what we read. No. We actually read a lot of non-superhero stuff and a lot of stuff that we really get psyched about.
So one great book that's out there that's relatively new is a book called Fell.
From Image.
Image Comics. Warren Ellis writes it.
Ben Templesmith is the artist on it. He is, well, I didn't know he's eating cookie. And he's like, okay, I got a cookie.
It's a bit not professional to talk with the cookie.
It's, you know what, who says we're professional?
No one.
No, clearly. This is a book that, to me, it's like a comic book version of the show Homicide, sort of, but focuses on one detective, Detective Richard Fell.
Right.
The great thing about this book is that they dropped the price point down to $2.
It's also shorter.
It's 16 pages, I guess.
But it's so dense with
I've never noticed.
Yeah.
I've never been like, oh, that was quick. Not
a
like
lot of panels. A lot of panels.
there's a lot in there. It does come out somewhat semi-irregularly.
That's a good way to put it.
Semi-irregularly?
Semi-irregularly.
That should be the new heading in the books.
Yeah.
But
Section
when,
previews.
but when it does, it's completely worth it. And the thing is, it is. I don't know if it hasn't been collected in trade yet, but it is available in reprints everywhere. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Like the
trade's coming out soon. I think they're on like issue 7 or
Yeah,
something.
they've
like that, so
reprinted
it's
it
gonna
through
be
7.
And I feel like Peter's the kind of guy who wouldn't care about reprints, so that's good.
I'm guessing not.
Right.
I certainly don't.
The great thing about Fell 2 is that they are all self-contained one-issue stories. They're all about the same guy, but
And there's threads going throughout.
there's
it, but
thematic threads and
you
there's
can read-
characters.
yeah.
Like there's a relationshipy kind of character thread, but mostly it's that the stories are separate.
It's a case-based show. So like
Yeah.
each week or month or semi annum, Richard Fell catches a case, and it's about this horrible place he lives, Snowtown, and Warren Ellis is basically trying to show us how horrible humans can be.
Yeah.
Cookie.
But
it'll happen.
horrible, but also there's a not a hopelessness, a hopefulness.
There's a sense of optimism in the main
Richard
character.
Fell
'Cause he's come to this town, this dead-end town, and he's going to bring law and order to it.
It's like a cowboy.
Gorgeous
Chunk,
book. Ben Temple-Smith,
Oh,
who a lot of
beautiful.
people probably know from 30 Days of Night. I think that's when he got to be known, sort of like that.
Yep.
I can't describe the art, so look at it here.
It's like, God, this is a visual medium.
I know, it's on the audio podcast.
Just look at it.
But, it's sort of cartoony at the same time, but it's got all that layers.
It's also
of
painted
and colored, and it's just, it's great.
on the cooking.
That wasn't supposed to be as distracting as it was.
Cookie pieces all over.
I'm trying to be subtle with the cookie
I don't think
request.
we should do the cookie thing again.
These are good cookies.
This is a great idea.
True enough.
So,
None of these books have
fell.
Read fell.
So another great book that's non-superhero-y is a book called DMZ, which is written by Brian Wood and art by Riccardo Burcelli. He's an Italian.
We could totally butcher that.
Yeah, we're gonna write it on the thing. And it's kind of like a it's not a post-apocalyptic, but an alternate kind of alternate present, where there was somewhat of a civil war in the United States, and New York City has become a demilitarized zone, and the varying factions are there.
Not altogether unbelievable.
Right? Yeah, no, it's scary how believable it could be. Yeah.
It's taking the current political climate and extrapolating the worst possible scenario, which is the two sides of the political spectrum decide, screw it, we're going with guns.
Yeah.
And the country splits like the Civil War, but...
And not surprisingly, New York becomes the middle ground.
Which is strange because it's nowhere near the middle.
But it's the center of
I
everything.
think, isn't New Jersey the dividing line in the story?
Near the river.
Yeah.
Hudson River.
And I
And Long
really-
Island's just fucked.
One thing... Was it?
Hey!
I was born there.
I know.
No love.
I grew up there.
What's strange thing about that is
Probably gonna die there.
the one army is only in Long Island, so they're pretty much screwed because
Yeah,
one side's got the entire country, one side's got Long Island, and then
But they got awesome malls.
they've got all the malls and acid wash jeans and big hair they can make.
North Shore.
It's awesome.
No, but this is it's a fantastic read. It's very compelling.
Yeah.
It follows one character who's a
A journalist
journalist who's dropped into the middle of Manhattan and is covering the war,
is thrust into it all. So
trying to get the truth out.
They drink.
We eat cookies, whatever.
So yeah, DMZ. It's published by Vertigo, DC Comics. Big fans of it. So
If you get into it.
almost there.
He's true.
Okay. If you
Wow, now he's going for the.
This is just blowing up in our face. We got excited about the cookies. And it
If
went
you've ever
down.
been to New York City, as we have, where you're right. One of the things that I think the book does really well is it captures the feel of the city and what would happen in that instance. And there's
It's very geographically correct.
it
Geographically
really
correct.
is, and clearly Brian Wood lived here for a long time.
Yeah, lives.
I think does he live?
Yeah,
here?
he's
He's in
So-
Brooklyn. He's in
Did he
Brooklyn.
move to?
He did, and he came back.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
But there's something about the attitude and the climate of this city that
It's very tribal.
it is, and I think he nailed what would happen if this situation came down, or at least partially.
Well, neighborhoods are so tribal, and the different groups are so cliquish almost that totally, if the city broke down, people would form into groups.
People
Well, they already have, kind of.
Right, but I mean, if this was actually like the war zone where you were
Right.
protecting your territory, this would totally your neighbor. Josh's neighborhood would definitely be one group. It's totally like that.
Yeah.
He definitely is really New York.
And so by placing the city's a character in this. By placing the city in a situation like this, he's really exposing the underbelly of what the character of the city is, and that's an advanced leap to do. I think and you can't do that with a lot of places. It's not. I don't think you can do that story about Raleigh, South Carolina.
Raleigh Durham.
Yeah, there you go.
The other thing about this book is
Maybe you could. I don't know enough about
Getting
it.
emails from people in Raleigh Durham going, "Hey, we didn't even make fun of it." Please.
this is for me at least, a huge leap of quality from Brian Wood's other books. I mean, I've enjoyed what I've read of his, but this is like so beyond what he's done.
Yeah, and it's really good. And the thing is, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot,
Political intrigue. There's the interpersonal intrigue. There's
the art really reflects the story. I think, and
By
the
the way,
jaggedness.
lest we just say it's about a story, it ruins it. There's a journalism intern.
Yeah.
There's a photographer's intern or something like that.
Yeah.
And he gets dropped into the DMZ to go on a photo assignment, and this is just a pitch.
alongside a
and they
seasoned
all
reporter.
get killed.
The journalist gets killed, but he survives.
And so he gets stuck there, basically.
He's the only person left embedded, so he's got all the equipment. And the network says, you are in charge now, you're reporting.
Right.
And then the craziness happens from there.
Yeah, and wackiness ensues. Great book. And I'm not a Brian Wood fan, and I love this book.
But like I mentioned, it's published by Vertigo, which Vertigo is probably a good spot to go to for non-superhero books.
Mm-hmm. Like, and you can go back into their trade library.
But one specific title that's being published now that you seem to love, and as you read the script. Wait a minute.
I didn't know.
Yes.
The cookie threw me off.
It's called Fables.
If you're familiar with the audio podcast, you may know a long history of this book with us. But I'm just going to go ahead and give it to you straight. Fables is not a superhero book, but it's not a based in reality book. These other two books we were talking about are based in reality. Fables is a different spin where Bill Willingham is the writer, and the artist is normally Mark Buckingham, but it changes around a little bit. He has remixed public domain and fairy tale figures and put them into today's society. And
it's a fantasy story.
It is a fantasy story.
What if Snow White walked among us?
What if Snow White walked among us?
She was
married
hot.
to the big bad wolf, and if she was with, and it is
she married the big bad wolf?
Thanks for ruining it for us reading
I'm
in
only on
trades.
volume 1.
I said, what if? It might have happened.
Possibly.
Son of a bitch.
What if Vader was Luke's father?
And then
He almost spit.
we didn't do a spit show. But it's done in this style that's it's humorous, but it's mature. It's for adults. There's sex and drugs and violence and all those things. And those make Ron uncomfortable, which may be one of the reasons that you don't like it. I don't know. No, that's not it. I've misjudged you.
He doesn't like elves.
Yeah. The fairies kind of turn me off.
No, it's basically, what if all these fantasy characters from the Grimm fairy tales and all those stories you hear as a kid, what if they were real?
They got
living
pushed
in our
out
world.
of their homelands at some point in the past because of something that happened, and they moved here.
It's like a Roger Rabbit kind of thing.
Sort of, yeah. It is. It is not. There's a Toon Town because there's a Fable Town.
With Bob Hoskins?
He is in that. That's strange. It's-
Oh, wow. I love Bob Hoskins.
And if you've never read this, you have undoubtedly heard scores of comics fans telling you it's the best comic that ever existed.
People love it. I mean, people who love it really love it. And we know because we've heard all the emails from them.
Here's
and
the
they're
thing
all
about
full of shit.
No. I don't want any more of those emails.
as you go through it, and this is really important to remember, and it's a lot to ask. But the first couple of books, while good, do not really grab you in the sense like a lot of other things do. Like by the second book of Preacher, you're full in. Mm-hmm. Fables, the first couple, they're good, but like I stopped reading it in issue form around 16, 17. And then I went back and read it in trades later, and then it got me in the third and fourth trades and things like that. At that point, I thought
it's
really,
difficult
really
to tell someone they've got to commit to 4 books before they start liking
Absolutely,
it.
I know that, and I'm warning now. And I've heard this from other people who really like the book because it's a big world, it's a big universe, there's lots and lots of characters, and I think it takes a while to set that all up. That's probably a weakness as opposed to a strength, but it's a true thing. But
once you get caught up, then you'll have the virus of needing more and defending it till you die. So I don't know. I've only read the first trade, so I can't speak to it. It's not that good. I'm just kidding. I'm teasing. It's all right.
So you're going to recommend somebody to think it's not that good.
What is that good, Ron?
What is that good? Why the Last Man? Another Vertigo title. This is becoming a Vertigo show. Wait a minute. Written by Brian K. Vaughan, drawn by Pia Guerra, and also there's art by
Korin Suzuka does a lot of fill-ins on that. But you know what? Almost can't tell the difference between
No, you can't.
Basic premise is one day all the men in the world die except for one guy named York.
All the, not just men, but all the males.
All the males.
of every species.
Yes. And except for York and his monkey. And
Ampersand.
yes. And basically it's the story of trying to figure out what happened. And basically, because he's the last man, he's in a lot of danger, so he's got to dress up like a woman and all this kind of stuff, and he gets paired up with a government agent, and they're going to try to figure out what happened and see if they can continue the species. And it's really kind of interesting because it's, again, like DMZ, it takes place now, but like in a different world where there's no men.
If the world took a left turn.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting to see what would happen. It was actually, I never even thought about it. Like, what would happen if all the men died? Well, the government fell apart, and all the infrastructure fell apart. The power companies stopped working, and all.
Wait a minute.
You know. What?
They got it going again.
No, they did. No. But
they fell apart initially.
I'm sorry. I'm not. I didn't mean to say that men keep everything
And all
running.
of a sudden, no one knew what to do. Everyone was standing around with plates of cookies, and you were just like, "I baked these, and it's not helping."
But no. Like, imagine if at least 50% of the population disappeared. You know what I mean? That would, it affects the world.
And also, it is important to note that he's thought about the
not
political
sexist.
aspects of it. Is that like the governments are 90%
Male.
with me?
I know. I'm sorry. I like
The governments are 90% male, so there's people who would have to run that.
as is business.
Yeah,
as is
and
academia.
it looks into all that
As is-
stuff.
wait a minute.
Like there's a really
We're
there's a couple of-
privileged.
There's a couple of really interesting scenes. Where this is becoming a theme on the show.
I know where I go off.
I'm like academically extolling some virtue.
And Ron's doing this over here. Woo!
Why do we stop with the finger in the hole, please? Anyway,
There's a really interesting scene where they were talking about rock stars. Like somebody was saying how they really missed,
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain, or they really missed.
well, he was dead.
He was dead already.
I know that. That's the point of it. There's no male rock star,
or Limp Bizkit.
and there was no one missed him.
No, not at all.
No one even does now.
No, but there's a very sociological aspect to it too, along with the sci-fi.
There's also it's not even sci-fi as much as
It's a thriller.
there's intrigue,
Yeah.
there's international espionage, and things are not as they seem, and things are double crossed, and
it's cliche to say, but it's a roller coaster. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
one of the things that Vaughn does in all of his work, and this is where I first sort of got to know him for it, is that he takes that extra step. Sometimes that a lot of other writers don't. Like he's like, well, what if I pushed it this far? And then he goes, you know what, I will push it that far. Whereas in that world, there's the Amazons.
Yeah.
The Amazons all cut their breast off.
That's what the Amazon did.
One boob.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, but he actually has the.
Yeah, he has to do it.
does
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And he'll show you that stuff too.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't
Which
hold
is
back.
different in comics too, because comics want to sexualize the women as much as possible. So,
Right.
and then have them,
Yeah, so
they got to be able to shoot the arrows.
they should. So why the Last Man?
Yeah, another book that we love. It's not at all superhero-y. It's called The Walking Dead by Robert Kirkman. This is a zombie book, but not about zombies, right? I mean, Ron doesn't. You don't like zombies.
I don't like zombies.
Don't like zombie movies.
Although I like Marvel zombies. Go figure.
Kirkman.
I know.
But you love this book, right?
I love the book. It's great. It's not because it's not a horror.
No,
Sorry.
basically,
it's steeped in horror, but it's not.
It's similar to Why the Last Man in that something has happened to humanity and now we're screwed. And what it is zombies came.
We inadvertently have stumbled upon a theme here.
What if this happened?
Yeah, exactly. It's like our world, but different.
And the zombies, it's like 28 Days Later or any other zombie movie.
No, the 28 Days Later zombies. Like, weren't they fast zombies? Or was that Day at Dawn of the Dead? You don't know anything about zombies.
This is
Yeah,
irrelevant.
I don't even like the movies.
So basically, the point is zombies come and you follow this group of people, but really the book is not about the zombies. The zombies are just a device to
Force the people
examine
into
the
this.
people and what you would do if society disappeared and you only had each other to rely on and there's no more food.
And all the conventions of society,
Yep.
which is just like in DMZ and in Fables. Like the things that make you comfortable, the things
Yeah.
you take for granted.
There's no television. There's no
Electricity.
refrigerated food. I mean, there's just like...
Gas.
Pizza delivery.
Yeah.
And it's spent a lot of time on the interpersonal, like, there's only 12 of you. Are you all going to just pair off? Like, how you're going to fall in love? But
And there's this very real threat in the background of, we could all get killed if something goes wrong. Because outside of the gates are,
Flesh-eating
100,000
zombies.
flesh-eating, mindless...
Brains.
Do it again.
I can do it again.
Do it.
Brains.
Thank you.
But also the thing is that the great thing about that book is there's a true danger to it because at any moment a main character will get killed,
Yeah.
which is awesome because there's truly no safe zone in that
Because
book.
stuff happens.
You read Spider-Man, you know Spider-Man's not going to die before the end of the book, but the main character is
That one issue ended with the crosshairs on him, so clearly the next issue he was going down.
But
possibly.
it's eerily realistic in an unrealistic world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, good one.
Wow, just way to throw out a
I pulled-
catchphrase.
pulled that one. Yeah, it was from the back of the book.
In a world.
So those are some titles that are non-superhero-y that we think you'll dig. We dig them.
And there's a lot more. Those
Yeah.
are just 5, but if you like if you're into comics now and you don't want superheroes, there's tons of stuff for you.
And if there's a title we didn't mention or that we're not reading or that we're not aware of, you can shoot us an email at contact@ifanboy.com. We'd love to hear what books you're reading that aren't superhero-y.
Or if you're Peter, you want to write us and you did try any of these and tell us what you think. That'd
Yeah,
be
exactly.
cool too.
So contact@ifanboy.com.
Or you can call us at 1-888-FANBOYS, which is 326-2697. You can leave us a voicemail. Tell us about books. Tell us about anything. Tell us about brains.
Brains.
Cookies.
Or, when we put the show up, there's going to be a thread under it.
Yeah.
And that thread will give you a place that you can tell Peter, and more likely you'll tell us. Well, you should have said this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, there are hundreds and hundreds of really good books out there that have nothing to do with superheroes that are, you could put in here. These are the ones that we thought of first,
Yeah.
and they're real good ones. So go there at iFanboy.com, or you can go to the forums over there, and you can talk about all these books and think of some more.
And if you have any cookie recipes,
Cookies.
because we like the cookies, we're gonna have some more now.
What do you think? Should we do another cooking episode?
Well,
Thinking probably not.
We should.
the food theme is good.
What about cake?
Cake. Ooh,
Pie.
cake.
Pie.
Yeah.
Next week on iFanboy. Pie.
Got a big pizza too.
Needs all your website uses. I'll make a website for you. If you use coupon code iFanboy, you can. Too soon? Too soon? A little bit too soon.